Let's say, what else do we know about this matter? Why is Kakum National Park such a big deal for the Ghanaian people? The reason that there is a lot of outrage about the possibility of exploration there. Now, Kakum Park was created in 1925 as a forest reserve. That is a very long time ago if you do the math. We also know that in 1992, about 60 years on, the Kakum Forest Reserve was reclassified as a national park. The reason for that, to preserve, vegetation there and also hold it as a national property. Now, Kakum Park, the protected area covers 360 square kilometers. Very vast land. And, 24% of it will not be a small area to mine. Second most visitor site in Ghana with 136,256 tourists in 2022 alone. That's how important this park is to tourism in the country. At one point in 1995, it was Africa's canopy walkway. You know, the famous canopy walkway there. If you haven't taken time there, you should go. But I'll tell you what we also know about High Streets Limited, the company that purportedly had applied to mine 24% of the forest reserve. We know that in 2019, 17th of October 2019, licenses that it had at that time was prospecting license. We know that some other licenses were also pending to mine gold in the Central Region, Ashanti Region, Kumasi and Cape Coast District. In 2018, it was first when it was registered with a prospecting license also to mine gold and other minerals. But we know, the areas where it's supposed to mine: Central Region, where we find the Kakum National Park, Ashanti Region, Kumasi District, and Cape Coast District. So essentially, that's basically what we know about High Streets Limited. It's a company based here out of Accra. But let's have a conversation on the back of this. We'll talk to someone who has deep knowledge of this issue. He's joining us from the Central Region right now because Thomas Khan is at Asing Atandaso, where the Kakum Park is located, and he's joining us right now. Thomas, thank you so much for your time. I can only imagine that this issue may have generated a lot of talk in the Central Region. Talk to us about that.
Hi, good afternoon, Kevin. So this topic is coming as a shock and surprise to many, tracing it back to stories they've heard about the Tiwa Forest and stuff like that. So they said this is a treasure. They consider the Kakum National Park as the biggest treasure of the Central Region. And Central Region is a tourism hub. And they said they are not ready to let this facility go just like that to the detriment of
very well, Thomas.
Somebody selfishly.
I see.
Hi.
We'll talk about the significance of Kakum specifically to the locals in the Central Region. But do they even know what minerals could be found in their region, particularly at the park?
This is something that they are surprised about, especially those who live here. They said that they've been farming and doing other activities here, but they've never known that this forest reserve has any minerals over there that if they knew, maybe perhaps some of them or the indigenous here are...
This report. Thomas Khan joined us from the Central Region, specifically where Kakum National Park is located. But let's now talk with somebody who has deep knowledge of nature, Director of Nature and Development Foundation, Mustafa Seidu, on the response from the Minerals Commission regarding the possibility of exploration in the Kakum National Park. Thank you so much for joining us here. That shouldn't... Right. Let's have a conversation now. Mustafa, thank you for joining us here. The Minerals Commission says no such permit has been granted and that they will not grant any such permits for the park in the future. Is that a good start to this conversation?
Yes, good afternoon. I think it's a good start, but I think it's not enough. I think that the problem is not just Kakum. it speaks volume of what the law pretends to do in other areas that we are not aware of.
Very well, Mustafa, thank you so much for your time. Mustafa Saidu there.
Let's now revisit the story of two persons who are reported to have been shot dead while two others also sustained injuries following an alleged clash between forestry officers and miners at Mfante near Tepa in the Ahafo-Ano North Municipality of the Ashanti region. The incident occurred at a community mining site in the area on Friday when forestry officials allegedly stormed the area and clashed with the miners. The deceased have been identified as persons who were guarding the site. Two of the miners also sustained injuries and are receiving treatment at the Tepa Government Hospital. William Evans Nkum is our Ashanti regional correspondent. He's been following the story closely and is now reporting that there's still a standoff between the rapid response team from the Forestry Commission and some miners operating within the Deseret Forest Reserve. Evans has joined us via Zoom for a conversation. Evans, many thanks. What more do we know about the standoff?
Well, so in fact, we engaged the owner of that particular firm, and he said that early part of this year, he was allocated a 50-acre concession, and it was even adopted. That is, his concession was even adopted and commissioned under the community mining model. And there were reports that he had gone beyond his area of operation, which he has denied vehemently, saying that all those reports were fallacious. Of course, it was under the backdrop of those reports that the rapid response team from the Forestry Commission invaded his mining firm on Friday. But we understand that a number of equipment were destroyed. Some also set ablaze because of the suspicion that he was depleting the Deseret Forest Reserve, something that he has vehemently denied. In fact, I also know that the Association of Small-Scale Miners in the Ashanti region is also preparing to hold a press conference on this particular report.
But we've seen videos of the burning of some mining equipment allegedly by these forestry officials. Can you confirm that for us?
Well, absolutely. So this particular picture came from one of the eyewitnesses. And on the basis of that, we can confirm that these were some of the equipment that were touched when the rapid response team or the forestry guards stormed that particular concession.
Right. Just finally on the manhunt for the killers of the two forestry officials, has the police given any word or any indication as to whether or not progress is being made?
Okay, so those were not the forestry guards, but they were security men who were actually guarding that particular mining firm. So that's what we have been told and established. But for the forestry guards, they fear for their lives. And for that matter, I mean, the fear of reprisal, they decided to withdraw. That is, the Forestry Commission has decided to withdraw all their men from the Deseret Forest Reserve until the police and military take position and ensure that at least that particular enclave is safe for operation before they return.
Right then, many thanks. William Evans Nkum, our correspondent, and my colleague in the Ashanti region, providing a bit more details there for us from the Ashanti region. Now, to some other pressing matters now, and a significant majority of businesses sampled in a survey say they want some key tax handles reviewed by government. The study put together by audit firm KPMG reveals businesses have this year been severely impacted by the cedi depreciation and inflation. It comes in the week the finance minister is expected to present to Parliament the budget estimates for the next year. And so what exactly are the details as found by this KPMG report? Let's walk you through it. And for starters, the respondents say that on things that have negatively affected the operations, 57% attribute a lot of that to cedi depreciation, 56% to inflation, and then 46% on rising interest rates. On notable challenges that businesses experience in this year. 29% say power supply, 20% are attributing that to access to capital, and then 19% on skilled labor. Now to the subject matter on taxes. And tax environment contributed around 89% of the reported adverse impact on businesses in terms of operations and the likes. And they, amongst many things, want government to review the e-levy. 68% want a review of COVID-19 levy as well as 68% also wanting a review of the import tax. And so a lot of conversations in relation to what is to be expected when the finance minister comes up on Wednesday. Let's get on to Zoom now and speak to the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, for a conversation. Many thanks, Prof, for speaking to us. So the business community say they want the e-levy, import tax and COVID-19 levy reviewed. From what you know, for starters, about the challenges associated with revenue, is this possible?
Hello?
Yes, Prof, I can hear you.
Yeah, can I hear your question again?
So I'm asking, there's been a lot of demand for a review in taxes, if possible, the scrapping of some. Based on what it is that we have currently, even under an IMF program, is that a possibility, a review of taxes?
Well, I think the tax system should be reflective of creating an environment that is conducive for businesses to operate.
Right.
The tax system should be reflective of the concern of the people who are actually paying the taxes. And thirdly, the tax system should be reflective of the need to nurture businesses. Businesses are complaining, and the only answer to that is to listen to businesses, engage them. Those taxes that you think, for example, COVID-19 levy, that you think, even though COVID-19 is not here, you still want to keep, that should be a sort of engagement. It should not be an imposition. If there's no engagement, there's no need for that tax to be on our books. It has to be removed because it is based on COVID and COVID is not available. So engagement with taxpayers is very, very important. And what the outcome of the engagement is should be reflective of the budget.
Right.
Without that, the business community will see the government as insensitive to the concerns of businesses. People are complaining that, yes, you brought tax officers into their premises. They feel that that is intimidating enough. If you bring the tax officers to a business environment for 1 month, that should be enough. Whatever you are looking at, the trend, you have seen it. You shouldn't keep the tax officers there forever. Those are concerns that should be addressed and be reflective in the tax basket for
Prof,
indication in the budget.
The other thing for a lot of these businesses, particularly the challenges, had to do with the depreciation of the cedi. There's been a lot of conversation, particularly this weekend, as to whether or not Ghana has missed the deadline for the second tranche of monies expected from the IMF. We know how important a lot of these forex buffers are in terms of helping the cedi to remain stable. Considering that we haven't received the second tranche, Cocoa Board targeted some $1.2 billion, and that has not yet come in as well. Do we stand a chance where the concern of the cedi depreciation could be a lot worse for these businesses?
Well, I think there is an aspect of the depreciation that has to do with signaling. The signaling that we receive is that by September, we should have received the cocoa syndicated loan. That has delayed in coming.
Right.
And again, we were expecting 600 million from the IMF second tranche. Again, we have not met the condition that have been attached to it. And that is also in a limbo. All this information creates some signaling effects to the management of the currency. And that may be accounting for the response of the currency. And if it delays further,
right,
then we will see that effect on the currency in a massive manner.
Prof, many thanks for speaking to us. That's Professor John Gachi, is the Dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, speaking to us this afternoon.
Let's talk about that earth tremor. The Ghana Geological Survey Authority is urging Ghanaians to remain calm. The authority is explaining that the tremor experienced in parts of the country was minor and therefore not expected to cause any damage. The authority adds that such occurrences are difficult to predict, and the authority is therefore committed to educating and sensitizing the public to safety measures. Let's have a quick chat on this. We'll be speaking to Director General of the Ghana Geological Survey Authority, Isaac Kuwan Mwimbel. Thank you so much for joining us here, Isaac. Good afternoon to you. Now, if you can hear me, what else do we need to know about this 3.6 magnitude tremor that hit us over the weekend? Well, I'm not sure Isaac can hear me yet. We'll rework that connection. And Isaac, my understanding is you can't hear me, but we can't because you are mute. If you can unmute yourself, we'll be able to hear you. I was asking, what else is the authority learning about the 3.6 magnitude earth tremor? Well, Isaac can hear us, unfortunately. We'll rework the Zoom connection and have that conversation with him. But you're here on News Central. When we come back, the tremor story and many others coming your way. Don't go away. Welcome back to News Central. Let's go back to that story on the earth tremor. Joining us via telephone now is the Ghana Geological Survey Authority Director General, Isaac Kuwan Mwimbel. Thank you so much for your time here. I hope you can hear me now. What else do we need to know about this 3.6 magnitude tremor that hit us over the weekend?
Yes, good afternoon to all your listeners. On the 12th of November 2023, at 7:17 a.m., we recorded an earth tremor of magnitude 3.6. The epicenter was around the Weija area. But with the magnitude that we recorded, you realize that it will only cause vibration off the ground and maybe some structures. But the normal thing is that you don't expect to have any major structural damage or defects.
I see.
Buildings and
very well. Isaac, there are those who fear that this tremor is a sign of an earthquake to come. What do you say to those people?
Yes, so before, earth tremors are a precursor to the major earthquakes. And if you look at a sequence of these occurrences, it looks like over the years, the frequency is increasing. Likewise, the magnitude.
So it's an earthquake in the corner. It's an earthquake in the rear for people in these areas like Weija?
Yes, it's a source of concern because it is likely that we could have a major earthquake occurring.
I see.
And when that happens, people who are in the earthquake-prone areas are likely to experience more impact than those who are not within the earthquake-prone areas.
So in your study of this tremor, how soon do you think that the earthquake could hit?
This is difficult to predict exactly when an earthquake can occur. But of course, as I said, these are signs that we could have it. But we may not be able to predict exactly when to expect an earthquake in the country.
But Isaac, the world over, all geological institutions are able to tell when there could be movement in the fault lines or plates of the earth. What they cannot predict is how impactful they could be on the people. You're telling me that the Geological Survey is unable to do this. You don't have the tools to do that?
We cannot predict earthquake. You can forecast and say that based on the occurrences that we are seeing, based on the frequency that we are seeing, we might be experiencing an earthquake, but you cannot.
Now what I'm asking is, based on all that information you have gathered from the tremor, what is the forecast for an earthquake?
The plan for an earthquake in Ghana is to continuously sensitize the people on what to do should we experience a major event. And what we do is that we just go through the normal disaster management cycle, which is the preparedness.
Isaac, Isaac, there is no particular forecast for an earthquake. I understand what you're saying about, post-earthquake impact, but I'm asking, based on the tremor we saw, is there a forecast for when an earthquake could hit, which areas it could hit?
So that is what I'm telling you, that we cannot say that on this time or at this particular period, we are likely to have earthquakes.
Very well.
That is difficult. That is difficult for the authority to say. But from the occurrences, yes, the possibility of an earthquake occurring is high.
I see, Isaac. So you know that the probability of an earthquake is possible, but I'm asking you: is it that you cannot forecast when this could happen because you do not have the equipment to do so? Because we know the world over, geological institutions are able to forecast that this could be happening based on A, B, or C signs. In Ghana, we can't do that. Why?
In Ghana, we have our seismic monitoring network, which is connected to the National Seismic Observatory. And what this does is it monitors the ground movement. Any major ground vibration is recorded, and that data is transmitted to our observatory, and that is what we use to even tell what is the magnitude, where is the epicenter.
So, Isaac, I want us to wrap up on this because we do not have the time. Two things I want you to tell me. Did you know that tremor was going to happen?
Sorry, I didn't get the question.
Did the Geological Survey receive any information to tell it that the tremor was going to happen?
No, and that's why I said it is not possible for us to.
No, granted. Granted, Isaac. Do you now have information, seismology information, that an earthquake could happen anytime soon, based on all the information you have shared with us?
Based on our monitoring events, yes, we can say that these events occur over a cycle of about 80-something years. So when you take that one and looking at when we recorded our major earthquake event in 1939, yes, we can forecast and say that it's likely, but we are not able to tell you exactly when.
So what is your forecast? Is it likely or it's not?
The events show that yes, it's likely.
Thank you. Isaac Mwimbele there.
Right, to some developing story this afternoon where family of the missing Lands Commission staff, Rodelyn Amoah, has offered a 100,000 cedi reward for anyone who can assist with information to enable them find her. The 32-year-old senior lands administrative officer has been missing since 2021. Her husband, Dr. Wilberforce Agri, a lecturer at the Petroleum Department of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, who is accused of kidnapping his wife, is on trial at the Kumasi High Court. Ibrahim Abubakar was in court for us and is joining us with a bit more details as to exactly what it is that transpired. Ibrahim, many thanks. It's been a long emotional ride for the family. Let's first start off with what transpired in court today.
Well, Mauna, so the third witness was in court today for cross-examination. At a point in time, they had to do it in camera. So when they were then done, they told us by next week they would have finished with everything. So it was just a brief moment in court, but when they were done and they came out, you could see that the mother of Rodlin was just in tears. She just couldn't understand how for more than 2 years they cannot be able to trace the whereabouts of her daughter. For her, she's even tired of coming to court, the adjournment and other things. And she seems not to see anything progressive with it. Not necessarily with the case, but she just, all that she needs is to see her daughter. Whether dead or alive, she just needs to see the daughter, because she says she's unable to sleep and it's having a toll on the family. So she said the family has decided that they are they have announced 100,000 Ghana cedis bounty on whoever can be able to provide them with information to see the whereabouts of her daughter. We spoke to her after the court proceedings.
We'll take.
Don't even. In fact, it's not easy. All these bureaucracies that are going on is not bringing my daughter. I need my daughter. That is the bottom line. The bottom line is that I need Rhoda. That is why I have appealed, and I continually appeal to all Ghanaians. That's why we have put 100,000 Ghana cedis on Rhoda, that whoever finds her or whoever has knowledge or whoever knows where she has been kept, please, I am on my knees. It's my daughter I need. It's my daughter I need. It has been 2 years and over. It's not easy. It's not easy to bear with this situation. In fact, I need.
That's the mother of Rhoda announcing that 100,000 cedis bounty. Ahead of speak to my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar.
Yeah, Mawena, that's a really disturbing story there that, you know, all these months on, we haven't seen 2 years actually, yeah. Yes. We haven't seen the whereabouts of Rhoda. Hopefully, something comes out of this.
Exactly, and for me,
system.
I mean, the conversation is, where could she have been all these 2 years?
Yeah.
What's happened to the husband who's on trial? What has he said in trying to find this lady for her parents? Mother's in tears, and it's not a pleasant sight.
Heart-wrenching. But let's do some politics now. The Governor New Patriotic Party has set in motion processes for its parliamentary primaries. Voting for aspirants in constituencies where the party does not have a member of parliament will take place on Tuesday. Let's look at some of these key statistics. What are the numbers as far as the primaries for these orphan constituencies are concerned? We know that these are constituencies where the party does not have a member of parliament of their own, so we are looking at over 130 of them. Vetting of aspirants slated for Tuesday, 14th November 2023. Election is scheduled for December 2, 2023. Now let's take a look at the number of constituencies at hand. I told you that there are about 131. 6 others are on hold, and reasons for that we'll learn a bit soon. But key constituencies that we would be watching out for: we have the Adenton constituency, we have the Wenchi Ewutu Senya constituency as well. Wenchi constituency and then Ewutu Senya constituency. So these are the 3 key constituencies that you should watch out for. That's the Election Command Center will watch out for in the primaries for the orphan constituencies of the NPP. Mawena, this seems to be a strategy for the party to claim more seats in the general elections. I don't know how it's going to work out.
Has always been, really, if you look at it, because for some of the key constituencies or the key ones we're watching, Adenta has been held by the NPP before, it's been taken over by the NDC.
Yes.
And so it's a key. It's really important who you put there and whether or not they can win the seat again for you, because it looks like a number of these seats are swing seats. In some parts like the Volta region, I mean, those are quite clear as to
for the Ashanti region,
where it's going to go. And so that's pretty much it. But we'll continue to keep our eyes on it here on your election.
And this is the coverage that the Election Command Center would bring you. Well, you know what? It's politics season, isn't it?
We're getting nearer and nearer to December 7th.
Absolutely. So more of this coming up shortly.
This is still News Central here from our news hub on the John Hammond Street to some rather unpleasant stories where the death of Ghanaian football star Raphael Jamina sparked conversations on the need for football associations to take steps to protect football players. A 28-year-old joins a growing and disturbing list of sportsmen who suffered the unfortunate fate over heart complications. One footballer who managed to survive and opted to quit football entirely was Fabrice Mwamba. That's one person who managed to survive. Yao Fusulabi is with our sports desk. He's joining me in studio for a conversation. So Yao, a case of Raphael Jamina, but he's not the only person who unfortunately has had to suffer a demise in such a manner.
Yeah, so I could just take you all the way back to 1989. That was one of the first times that we heard something like that. It was a novelty in Africa until Samu Karaji passed on in 1989 in a game against Angola in Lagos, actually. And that was actually a really horrid moment. And after him, there was Mark Vivian Foe, who also passed on in the Confederations Cup, which made widespread news across the world. But, I mean, after those two Africans, there's been a few others spotted across the world. The latest one, Christian Eriksen, at the Euros, and then Fabrice Mwamba, who we saw speaking about how he survived, and then Enoch Mwipu, who this year as well, the Zambian, had to quit
Brighton.
Had to quit Brighton because of his heart complications. So yeah, there's been a few issues. Jamina isn't the first person and in football.
Unfortunate, but we're learning that there's some new development as well in relation to his passing associated with the Albanian FA and all of that.
Yeah, so I think that generally what they are doing is that the Albanian Football Association, in conjunction with the Albanian governments themselves, have asked the club, that's KG Ignatia, to bring out medical reports of Raphael Jamina and what really went on in that game and how he dropped dead on the pitch, which is something that is probably happening for the first time in Albania. And so they just had to ask for the medical reports, try to go through it and begin investigations just to ascertain what the main issue was.
He was a big deal for the Black Stars. Let's just touch briefly on the Black Stars because we know the international games are coming through shortly. But we'll come back to the Black Stars shortly. But let's get on to Zoom now. Dr. Prince Pambo is a sports and exercise medicine physician. He's joined us via Zoom for a conversation. Many thanks, Doc, for speaking to us. I mean, what does this latest incident mean for the talk that has been on for years about the need for federations to try and do just a bit more to protect sportsmen, especially those with heart conditions?
Thank you so much for having me. It just goes to confirm and probably strengthen that position that pre-competition medical assessment at any level should be mandatory, and I've always maintained that we can't run away from it. At the level of Confederation African Football, we try to enforce this, and any CAF sponsored tournament, pre-competition medical assessment is mandatory, right from blood works, physical examinations, cardiovascular examinations. Our premiership, we try to do same as well. So it is just reinforces the fact that yes, these things are real, and we can take some of these precautions.
But it's a dicey conversation. Some were diagnosed of this condition, managed to play on and survive. Nwankwo Kanu is perhaps one of the examples that readily come to mind. There are those who also make the arguments to the use of pacemakers and whether or not there should be a generally accepted way to go about this. What should be the way forward, particularly for players, because nobody wants to see their teammate, family member die on the pitch in such horrid manner?
Right. So these cases are not just it's not a one jacket fit all kind of situation. Each condition would have the way it has to be handled. And even if the conditions are the same, just the fact that it's happening in different people and how your body responds to it will tell how we handle it. So there are some you will check and you realize that yes, if you implant an ICD in there, the person will be able to play with, of course, some measures being put at any stadium the person would have to play. There are also some, you tell the person that, look, whatever ICD we are putting in there is just enough to help you go about daily life activities, but not to be able to do sports that will put a lot of stress on the heart itself. So there are lots of normal people in the population walking around with pacemakers and ICDs, okay, and it's just fine at that stage. But if they went ahead to do sports, it was going to complicate things for them. So depending on the severity of the condition and how your body is handling it, then doctors are in the position to prescribe exactly what will be helpful to you.
Let's try and bring this home just a bit, because sports people are generally regarded as one of the fittest individuals you can find anywhere in the world, yet they are having to suffer conditions like this. What then does this mean for the ordinary person, persons who might want to exercise a bit but are getting to find out that, hey, this is a sportsman and he suffered a cardiovascular disease and died in such a horrible manner?
Right, so to set the records straight, a lot more people who are sedentary, a lot more people who are not sports people, a lot more people who are physically inactive are dying of cardiovascular problems compared to sports people who are dying. I can assure you that the day we lost Raphael, probably close to 1,000 people who are not physically active also died of cardiovascular related cases. But because these are not should I say, superstars, you don't get to hear it. So if there's anybody listening to me out there, the worst thing you can do to yourself in life is to decide that you will not be physically active. That should be established.
Doc, many thanks, and for the advice as well. Let me just return briefly to Yaw Fusolabi, who's in studio with me. On the Black Stars, we know we have two crucial games ahead. There's been a lot of storms surrounding the Black Stars in the lead up to these two games. But how important is it going into these qualifiers that we win?
Well, it's these two qualifiers are incredibly important, just because these are two qualifiers that leads us into a World Cup qualifying format that we've never played in before. It's a new format. 9 teams are expected to go to the World Cup this time in 2026, and so every point matters. I mean, there's no opportunity to win, say, home games and try to draw away and get into the playoff phase and all of that. It's a new format. You have to win every game. You have to make sure you are performing in every game, and that's what the Black Stars need to do at this point. And they need to lay down the marker as early as possible. This is a game against Madagascar at the Barbara Stadium. They fly out to Comoros to play them on Tuesday, and hopefully they pick up all points to make it 6 points, and then Ghana can be in a comfortable place, particularly heading into an AFCON where they'll be needing that level of confidence to push them in there.
We know that our away form has not been so stellar, particularly under Chris Hughton. The call-up, the players, it continues to come up under a lot of scrutiny and the likes. And attacking power particularly has been of concern. Does it look like we can get the goals this time around?
So that's one of the biggest problems with Chris Hughton's side. The goals have not really come. There's just been one game that we've had more than 2 goals, and that was the game against Liberia in Accra. And so if that's anything to go by, then it will be difficult. But the Black Stars have to dig deep. I mean, there's the call-ups have been handed to Andre. Andre is back in the squad. Jordan, there's Semenyo, and also Iñaki Williams, who are all playing really well in their clubs. And so if they can come here and give us maybe just about 70% of what they give out there, the goals should come.
Yeah, many thanks. That's Yaw Fusolabi with a sports desk here at TV33 FM, providing a bit more details there for us as to exactly what to expect when the Black Stars go into 2 crucial games for the World Cup qualifiers.
Now, the Deputy Majority Leader has come under heavy criticism over comments made in Parliament indicating that the National Security Minister is no longer required to appear before the House to answer questions on the arrest of some Garou residents following an alleged attack on the national security operatives there. The residents were rounded up and taken into NIB custody, but subsequently released. MPs demanded that Kandapar appears before the House to answer questions. But comments from Alexander Afenyo-Markin on Friday has angered the Garou and Zebila MP, who said it is an abuse of parliamentary procedure. Albert Alazuga and Cletus Avoka insists the minister must appear in the House. They are also considering a legal suit against him.
Unfortunate statement. Excuse me if that's my leader, but this is a very unfortunate statement in the sense that my call for the speaker to invite the minister to come and give an account or to come and calling for a probe into the matter was not about the arrest of the 8 people whom they brought to Accra. It was about the whole action, what the military went to Garou and Buguri and did. I mean, the beatings of the people, the maiming of the people, which resulted in someone losing his life. And so to say that because they have released them, the 8 people who were arrested, and therefore the matter is closed, is most unfortunate. I don't think somebody who is a lawyer by profession, somebody who has risen to the rank of deputy majority leader should talk like this. I feel very embarrassed to hear this. I don't think that Afenyo should be talking like this. So it's most unfortunate.
What is the next line of action for you?
The next line includes legal action against the army or government, national security. It includes legal action, and then we'll keep pressing on government through the media and any other avenue that is available to me to ensure that our people get justice, and then the people who are wounded, the person who has lost his life, there's some fair compensation for this action, which is very, very unwarranted. So Afenyo-Markin's comment is below the belt, to say the least.
It is a scandalous statement, and it is an abuse of parliamentary process. We are governed by standing orders and the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. A statement was made on the floor of the House on this subject. Members contributed to the statement, and at the end of the day, there was a request to the Speaker to invite the Minister to come and explain the circumstances of the operation on the 29th of October 2023 in Buguri, in Timpani, and Garou, because they arrested people from those areas. He was to come and explain the scenario, the justification, the rationale, the circumstance that led to that operation.
Hopefully some closure comes to that.
A lot of closure is needed, and I think we're having a conversation. If the members of parliament cannot get a minister to answer questions over a raid, who can?
I don't know. Big question there. Big question there. Hopefully there's a response to that in the future.
Yes, that's our bulletin for you this afternoon, which came to you from our studios here on the John Hammond Street. I am Mawina Egbeta.
There's more news on 3news.com. I am Kemini Amano. Welcome to a brand new week. Bye-bye for now.